Here we are live now. Mm, Good evening, uh, Dhamma friends. And on behalf of Buddhist Insight, Empty Cloud, Dhamma page, I welcome all of you for today's Dhamma talk. Uh, Today, the sutta that we going to discuss, I already uh, posted the link on the comments, so you can refer that sutta while I'm talking about sutta. So before we begin today talk, let's pay our homage to the Samma Sambuddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammam Sangham Namassami. Dear Dhamma friends, today that sutta I am going to talk about is named as Kiṁsukosutta. Kiṁsukosutta, it is in the Samutta Nikaya, chapter number 35 and sutta number 245. It is in the Asivisa named uh, it's simile of the vipers, and throughout the that Vagga all suttas related to this vipers. That's why hence the this all Vagga is known as vipers Vagga. So this sutta, our great teacher Samma Sambuddha has given a beautiful simile, which is about a Kiṁsuka tree. So the tree of the Kiṁsuka, throughout the year, uh, the appearance of the uh, tree differs. You know, in the first season, it looks like a uh, different way, and when it comes to the second season, it looks different, and likewise the third and the fourth season, throughout the year, its appearance is quite different, but the same tree, but it looks different according to the season. So Buddha has given this beautiful simile to make you understand the Dhamma. So let's begin the sutta. Uh, I will explain how it has happened. Then, in one occasion, one monk went up to the another monk and asked the question, "When the Reverend sir, at what point is a mendicant's vision well purified?" So one monk was there, and he heard about the Dhamma, and he heard about the enlightenment, liberation, and satisfaction, everything. And after that, he needed to become enlightened. He needed to become uh, he needed to have the liberation. So he went to another monk, uh, another enlightened monk, and asked the question that how could I gain the enlightenment? How could I purify my vision? How could I purify my perception about this Dhamma? So at that time, this monk said, when a monk truly understands the origin as well as the ending of the fields of contact, fields of contact, at that point their vision is well purified. So that is the answer of the first monk. So here, amongst the Buddhist community, there is a popular ideology is that uh, if we want to become enlightened, if we want to become sotapanna, we need to go to a enlightened being only. Otherwise, the people who are preaching Dhamma, if they are not enlightened, we cannot gain the any kind of fruitions because they are not enlightened. But actually, that is not the case. Even before enlightened beings, if you hear Dhamma, you cannot understand. This is a great example for that. This monk, the one who answered the question, is already an enlightened monk. He explained his understanding, but the listener monk couldn't understand his words. So, with not satisfaction, he went to another monk and asked the same question. Then the second monk also, he's an enlightened one. He also replied to the same question. He was asking the question is asking, uh, how could I gain the purification of the vision? At that time, the second monk explained, when a mendicant or a monk truly understands the origin and the end and ending of the five grasping aggregates, that's called Panchupadana, at that point, their vision is well purified. So the second enlightened beings also replied, but this monk still not satisfied. And again he went to the third one and asked the same question. Then third monk replied, when a mendicant or a monk truly understands the origin and the ending of the four great elements. In Buddhism it talk about four great elements, so I will explain in later. So just read the sutta and try to go through the sutta, then we will explain. So if one can understand these about these four great elements and how they appear, as well as how they cease to exist, then one can get the full purification of the perception or the vision. Still not satisfied with the answer, this monk went to the fourth one and asked the same question. Then the fourth monk, he is also an enlightened being. He also replied that when mendicant truly understands that everything that has the beginning has an end. It's called, in the first sutta, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, when Venerable Kondanja, he's the one who in the first hand he understands the Dhamma with Sotapanna. At that time he had the knowledge. Yankinchi Samudaya Dhamma Sabbantam Nirodha Dhamma. That means uh, the phenomena which has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. If something appearing, definitely that has to be ceasing. That has the nature of appearing and disappearing. So if one can understand with the wisdom this true nature, then he can become vision purified. That means he can become sotapan. So now the poor monk answered the question, but still this monk not satisfied. So what he does, he went to the Buddha and he explained and told everything what has happened to him to the Buddha. Then he asked from the Buddha, Sir, at what point is a mendicant's vision well purified? So at that time, without directly giving the answer, Buddha has just given another answer. By answering, Buddha said, Monk, suppose a person had never seen a parrot tree. Actually, in this sutta, in this translation, Kiṁsuka tree they translated as parrot tree, but Kiṁsuka is a tree which was in the India at that time. I don't know whether the other countries available, but I was trying to find the real I was trying to find the true appropriate name for the tree, and it is the best translation is the Eritrea tree. You may have heard tree called Eritrea tree or riddle tree, some say, and some say it's a flame tree. Likewise, the it doesn't matter about the tree, but what in that tree happen is that throughout the year it appears in different ways. In the first season, the tree leaves all the leaves fallen down. So because of that, it appears like a bar thumb. So it is explained in the Sutta. So somehow this Kiṁsuka tree, Buddha explaining about the Kiṁsuka tree, and Buddha said, monk, suppose a person had never seen a Kiṁsuka tree, and they go up to someone who had seen a Kiṁsuka tree and ask them, Mister, what's the Kiṁsuka tree like? At that time, the first one say, a Kiṁsuka tree is blackish, like a burnt stump. Now, at that time, a Kiṁsuka tree may well have been just as that person saw it. So, the questioner, not satisfied with the explanation, then that person would go up to a series of other people, other four people, and he received the following answers. A parrot tree, Kiṁsuka tree is reddish, like a scrap of meat, chunk of meat, because at the time of speaking, this person has seen that Kiṁsuka tree during the the flowering season, when the flower is there. So it seems like a red chunk of meat from the distance. That's why he explained Kiṁsuka tree as a it seems like red, it seems red, and it's like a scrap of meat or a chunk of meat. Then the third person explained, a Kiṁsuka tree has uh, flaking bark and bursting pods like an acacia tree. So that is the answer of this third one. Still not satisfied, goes to the fourth one and asks the same question. The fourth one said, a Kiṁsuka tree has a luxuriant and shady foliage. It is like a banyan tree. Banyan tree normally it's it has so many leaves and foliage, and it has a good shade. So the fourth one explained in that way. By getting the answer from the four persons who have seen the Kiṁsuka tree, still not satisfied this person. Now at each of those times, a parrot tree may well have been just as those people saw them, but the questioner couldn't understand about the tree. So the Buddha further explains, in the same way, those two persons each answered according to what they were focused on when their vision was well purified. In the same manner, the previous four bhikkhus, four enlightened beings, explained about the purification of the vision as per their understanding. So, Buddha again giving another simile to this monk. Suppose there was a king's frontier citadel with fortified embankment, ramparts, and arches and six gates. And it has a gatekeeper who is astute, competent, and clever. He keeps strangers out and lets known people in. At that time, a swift pair of messengers would arrive from the east and say to the gatekeeper, Mister, where is the lord of the city? At that time, the gatekeeper would say, there he is, sir, seated in the central square. Then that swift pair of messengers would deliver a message of truth to the lord of the city and depart the way they came. Similarly, another swift pair of messages would come from the west as well as the north as well as the south, and after coming from those directions, they will pass the message to the Lord, which is who is in the middle of the city, pass the message, and they just depart the way they came. I have then Buddha said, I have made up this simile to make a point, and this is the point. City is term for this body, made up of the four primary elements, great elements, and produced by mother and father, built up from rice and porridge, liable to impermanence, to wearing away and erosion, to breaking up and destruction. And six gates is a term for the six interior sense field. So I will explain them in detail in later. A swift pair of messengers is a term for serenity and discernment, samatha and vipassana. The lord of the city is a term for consciousness, and the central square is a term for the four primary elements, namely Patavi mean earth element, Apo mean water element, Tejo mean fire element, Vayu mean air element. So the central square is term for the four great elements, and the message of truth is term for the enlightenment or the extinguishment. And the way they came is the way the swift messengers came is the term for the noble eightfold path. That is that is right view, right thought, right speech, right action, and right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, as well as right samadhi, samma samadhi. So in this way, Sutta ends. So in the beginning, it said about if one can understand about the six contact of the six sense base, six sensual bases. So as Buddhist practitioners, we must have these basic ideas, and likewise, uh, as practitioners, out of one way of these four ways, we need to be super clear about these paths. Otherwise, we cannot proceed them. Especially when we talk about the six sense bases, now we can see without knowing, without having that knowledge. Now we perceive, we understand this external world as uh, I myself living, and I can experience the external objects in the world. But actually, what has happened in that, uh, you have six senses like the eye, ear, nose, as well as the tongue, as well as your physical body. Through those, as well as the mind. Through those six sense bases, you are always getting experiences. That's what actually happens. So uh, it has this those six sense bases has the origination. In the same way, it has the cessation. Suppose when I clapped, when I clapped with my two hands, then the sound of the claps arises, but it not remains for a longer period of time. It just appear and just vanish. So the contact of the six sense bases happens in that way. When you are seeing an object, it is a moment, it is a instant thing. It happened just an instant and just vanished. But if it is keep continually happening with a higher rate, then we cannot understand that arising and disappearing nature. But one has to understand that nature, then only he can pursue the Dhamma. In another time, he talk about this impermanent nature. People know about impermanence, as you know. Now, if we take our lives and the things that we experience are, subject to decaying, and we have to die, we have to face the sick. Those are just the external surface appearance of the impermanent nature. But when you deeply understand the impermanency, then you will see only the appearing and disappearing, sudden appearances and disappearances only. So in that way, you have to understand the six sense bases. So I'm not going to further explain you. If you have the question on with regards to the six sense bases, you can ask, and I can further explain you about these six sense bases. The first monk, he already gained the enlightenment or the arahantship through contemplating on this six sense basis. That's why he has explained his understanding in that way. So in the second person, he talk about the five aggregates, five clinging aggregates. Uh, the form object, that's called rupakhanda, as well as the feeling, perception, and mental fabrications, as well as the vijnana. So all those five things categorizing, we can categorize again into two. The form is a physical object, as well as the feeling, perception, fabrications, and the consciousness. Those are the mental objects, mental and physical. So every mental and physical objects has the nature of appearing and disappearing. If one truly understands this appearing and disappearing nature, then he has the vision purified. And again, the second person also, the second monk also is an enlightened being. He explained as per his understanding. Then the third monk, he explained about the four great elements. So now Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. Patavi means the earth element, Apo mean the water element, Tejo mean the fire element, Vayu mean the air element. So now we know, we have heard about them. But as per our understanding, we think that suppose if we take myself, my body, it is made out of just uh, fire, water, earth, and air. Out of these four elements, my body is created. But that is not the true uh, understanding which taught by the Buddha. Even if you ask from a scientist, he would explain about the inner content of the body more than that. But that is not the real arising of the body, real cessation of the body. The four great element is always has the nature of appearing and disappearing. And when you deeply dive into the Dhamma, actually the four great elements and all the phenomena, all the things which talk in the Dhamma are not things. Those are natures. Patavi or the earth element is not a thing. It's a nature. Because if you can touch it, you can feel it. So it is not a thing. It is always flowing. If you take all the great elements, four great elements, those are like uh, if you uh, if you want to suppose if you take uh, the surface of a flowing river, and if you try to hold same water always, you cannot, because it is a continuous fluctuation of water, continuous streaming of water. You cannot experience the same water twice. Similarly, when you're experiencing through the sense bases or as upadana khandas, you cannot get the same experience twice. It is like a constant flux. So that's why the impermanence nature is come to here. So in that way, we have to understand the four great elements. It has the nature of sudden appearance as well as sudden disappearance. So that's why you need to do vipassana. When we do vipassana only, we can understand. The fourth one, yankinchi samudaya dhamma sabbantan nirodha dhamma. When one can understand every phenomena has the nature of appearing and disappearing. Then one can get the one can understand with true wisdom. Then one can get the vision purified. That is the fourth way. Yankinchi Samudaya Dhamma, Sabbanta Nirodha Dhamma. Every phenomena in in this world or anywhere, if anyone experience, has the nature of appearance as well as totally disappearing. So that is the nature. So just imagine the experience that we all are getting now as human beings. We are in the world and we are experiencing today. Maybe we have the happy time. We experience comfort. We take good feelings, but within tomorrow, suddenly it might change into a sad situation, bad situation, uncomfortable circumstance. We cannot say for sure. So that is the nature of every experience that we are getting. Every physical and mental objects just appearing and disappearing. But the person who not understand Dhamma, not fully understand Dhamma, is attached to those things and try to uh, aspire, try to desire, try to crave, try to hate of the phenomena because they haven't understand the true nature of the thing. So that fourth monk explained about enlightenment as per his understanding. So the uh, somehow even before the four great enlightened beings, this questioner monk wouldn't understand the Dhamma. So the Buddha has given, after that Buddha has explained about them, and he has given another simile to understand the Dhamma. So here Buddha talk about this body is like a citadel, because it has a citadel has to be protected from the all directions, because the conquerors may conquer from the other countries. So we have to have some protection. So that's why the Buddha in the similar way, our body has to be like a citadel, because we have to taken care of this body by eating food and by washing, by having a bath, by giving medicine. We have to taken care of this body. That's why this body is termed as a citadel. Then in the citadel there were six gates. In the same way, our citadel of body, it has six sense bases, namely eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, as well as the mind. Then uh, in this part, this sutta is very valuable, because in this part Buddha talking about the path. Initially he talk about the vision, or about how to get the enlightenment, and here he talk about path, how we proceed through the path. So if one wants to proceed through the path, then he has to understand this body as the city. Then the six gates, six sense bases as the six gates which is located around the city. Then the most important part is the gatekeeper. He is wise. He should be wise, competent, and clever. He only allows which is known to him. He's not allowing to come inside. If there are unknown people coming, he's not allowing. So that gatekeeper is compared to the mindfulness or the sati. So as a practitioner, the most important thing is the sati. We must practice. We must have the sati. And English term, most people translated in English sati as mindfulness, but mindfulness is not uh, just mindfulness. In Abhidhamma it is explained, sati nepakkena samannagato hoti. That means your mindfulness has to be mixed, has to be uh, accordance with the wisdom. That's why initially we should have the understanding about the the nature, all the phenomena, and the appearance of the phenomena as well as the disappearance of the phenomena. With that understanding, by merging your, you have to merge your mindfulness with that understanding. That only it becomes mindfulness. Suppose uh, without knowing that these teachings, anyone can be mindful, no? One who not know Dhamma, they can be mindful, and they can suppose not only Buddhist, any human being can help to another human being, another being. So at that time, it's a good activity, good karma. At that time, mindfully he can do that, but at that time it doesn't say he has mindfulness. Mindfulness has to be merged with the vipassana wisdom. That's why I said the term nepakka. Paramena sati nepakkena samannagata hoti. So mindfulness has to be merged with vipassana. Then only it truly known as sati. So that's why the Buddha here in the simile said he let he let in only the known people. Unknown people he doesn't let come in. Similar way, if you have the true mindfulness, then you know how your six sense basis works, and you are allowing only to uh, the positive or the good karma, and you are not allowing the bad karma to arise in your mind. As well as when you perform verbal activity, when you are going to say something, you are mindful. You know that I should say or not this word. Then when you are going to do a physical activity, you know whether it is a wrong or good one, you know. Then before you doing that, you know you have the control. You are allowing only to the good. You are not allowing to the bad because of your mindfulness, sati. So that's why that's mindfulness Buddha just compared with the gatekeeper. Then uh, Buddha talk about the swift pair of messengers. So swift pair of messengers, first two messengers come from the north direction, and after arriving, he asked from the gatekeeper, "Where is the lord of the city?" At that time, the gatekeeper explained, "In the middle of the city, there is a square. In that square, there is a lord." So then, the gatekeeper understand these two swift pair of messengers, which comes from the north direction. He know about them. Then he let those two messengers to reach to the center of the city. So the two swift pair of messengers known as Samatha and Vipassana. Samatha and Vipassana. Samatha means your uh, the equilibrium meditation. You do that meditation in order to have the calmness of your mind. And Vipassana is just to, as I explained, Vipassana in order to sharpen your wisdom. You do that bhavana, that way of bhavana. But you know, before you do both samatha and vipassana, it is paramount important that you must possess the mindfulness. Without mindfulness, if you do bhavana, it's not called the samatha, it's not called the vipassana. Because at some time I've heard that some disciples, they do bhavana, but when they are doing bhavana, they don't know what happened to them. Because sometime while doing bhavana, they fall asleep, and they sometimes they experience like dream like things during the bhavana. They don't know what has happened to them. They haven't identified their mental objects at that time. At that time, they are not do the gatekeeping. They are not doing true mindfulness. So the first hand, if you want to have the real samatha and real vipassana, before that you need to practice uh, what it called sati or the mindfulness. Then after that, the swift pair of messengers, if we if they truly known to the mindfulness, then the mindfulness will let into the samatha vipassana to happen. Then in that way, when true samatha and true vipassana happens, it will true go, it will transfer the reality, the message of the reality to the Lord, which is in the city. That's called the vinyana. So that's called the mind. The mind is the thing, uh, controls everything. In the mind, there are some mental objects are there. That's known as the wisdom. Raga is a mental object. Dvesa is also a mental object. Moha, illusion, it is also a mental object. And with the opposite of that, we should practice wisdom. That is also a mental object. That mental objects are possessed by the vijnana, by the mind, by the consciousness. When consciousness get the true message via samatha and vipassana, then he understand the real nature of every component things. Every component things has the nature of the appearance as well as the disappearance. That is called anicca. So because of that, yadaniccang tandukkang, something which is impermanent, that is, that brings dissatisfaction. Because that's why every experiences that we are having has the nature of appearing and disappearing. Suppose if you have a very comfort experience, like if you are having a fine dining food, you have a very delicate taste to your tongue, but you cannot keep that taste for longer as you wish. So it has the nature of uh, impermanent. So because of that, though it brings us the happiness, but we cannot maintain that happiness throughout our lives always. So because of that, it has the nature of impermanence. So it is known something which is impermanent, it brings the dukkha. That's why impermanence and the dukkha. Then uh, something which has the nature of the impermanence as well as the dukkha, then it has the nature of non-self. Non-self means anatta. So and the anatta nature, most people have understood that's anatta. That means they say there is no self. Then it is a wrong understanding. Buddha doesn't say about no. Buddha doesn't say there is that everything exists. Doesn't exist. Buddha don't answer to those questions. Buddha say Buddha mean by anatta is that, something has the nature of appearing and disappearing, something is impermanence, then that has the nature of dukkha or the unsatisfaction. So because of that, we cannot give the designation to that phenomena as myself, as a thing, as a being, as an entity. We cannot give designations. As I explained, everything that we experience both internally as well as the externally, it's like a surface of a river. It's always flowing, it's fluctuating, and you cannot draw a picture on the surface of a water because it's always flowing. Similarly, that in your life, every experience that we are getting, it has the nature of appearing and disappearing. It's flowing like a stream. So you cannot get myself and another being, another thing. That's called anatta. So in that way, the, when we do samatha and vipassana, you deliver the message of truth to the mind. So at that time, mind will understand. Then further it said that in that simile, that the swift pair of messengers coming from the north direction and pass the messages to the mind, and they depart in the same way they arrived. That means, uh, before we jump into the noble eightfold path, we we do practice samatha and vipassana. Those are not known as true uh, samatha and vipassana, because initially one cannot directly one cannot arrive to the samatha and vipassana, because uh, it's called in Abhidhamma or in Dhamma, it's called Purva Brahmacharya. Means that uh, to enter the path of the Noble Eightfold Path, one has to practice Samatha and Vipassana in a wrong way. Then, if he mature, then he jumps into the Noble Eightfold Path, right Noble Eightfold Path. That's what the Buddha said. The swift pair of messengers came from the north, and they returned. They went away from the same direction that they came. In the similar way, they talk about swift pair of messengers, talking about the from the fourth direction, four directions they are arriving. Here, that means that the first pair of messengers brings the message of the Sotapanna from the north direction, and from the south direction, the second pair of messengers brings the message of the Sakadagami, or the one return, and the third, similar way, the non-return message, and the final one, he brings the message of the enlightenment. That's what means the swift pair of messengers. And here that uh, here with regard to the four great elements, we talk about in two ways. When we talk about the whole body, we need to talk about the four great elements, as well as you know uh, in the middle of the city. Again, it talk about there is a lord. That lord is in uh, the junction. That junction is known as again four great elements. So here in the simile, four great elements are discussing in two locations. So that we have to understand by meaning of that is that you know as initially we talk about four great elements as earth, water, fire, and air. It is not deep understanding, just roughly we explain. But when we get the true understanding of the real nama rupa, or the real physical element, or the real uh, rupa rupakanda, the true form, as well as the true nama mean the feeling, perception, uh, fabrication, as well as the consciousness. At that time uh, we begin to understand the true nature of the four great elements. So at that time, we experience those great elements as not objects, as not entities. Those are just uh, natures, because it is just uh, those are not just things. Those are just uh, uh, always like streams. Those are just flowing. So that way we have to understand. So with that, the sutta has come to the end. And if you have any doubt, you can ask. I know that this sutta is quite hard to understand, but it is great sutta. So I will invite you all to. I have already posted the link, and you go through the link, and you further read the sutta. And if you have any doubt, you can ask at that moment. So far, we haven't got any question. So Geeta Brown has commented, as well as uh, MGMG. I don't know his name. He has also commented, as well as Jayanta Fernando, as well as P. Lee commented, as well as Julie, as well as Sud. They have commented. Then, if you have any doubt, you can ask. So Julie is asking a question: how does the four primary elements, the elements of earth, water, fire, and air, play an important role in the path leading towards enlightenment? Uh, that was the a true question. Actually, I really happy that uh, mm, it is one way of getting this. So as in this sutta, the third disciple, third enlightened beings, explain his understanding of enlightenment as four great elements. So how it help us to gain the enlightenment? It is like this. Now uh, we understand the four great elements as entities. Like suppose if we say Patavi as earth element, then we can see that there is an earth. Then our perception is that great elements as entities like earth, fire, water, and air. So those things we can physically experience, but actually in Buddhism, Patavi is not just earth; it is a nature. Sorry, I had some power failure. It is it is a nature. That means Patavi is not a thing. It's a nature that you can experience. If you touch the earth element, that time only you can experience the Patavi nature. So it's not a thing. Actually, in Buddhism, if you talk about rupa means the form. It's called rupatitiko rupan tasma rupanti uchyati. Means that rupa means it's not a thing. It's always um, appearing and disappearing. So to make you more understand, I would like to give an simile. Suppose in if you take about if we consider about direct current, especially in Sri Lanka, direct current, it has the it has the frequency uh, 50 hertz frequency. We have the to in the direct current, and when it comes to the America, I think it's in your country it's 60 hertz. So that means when you switch on the light, and you can experience a light that it's always existing, but what is happening inside the light truly happens is that it has the nature of appearing and disappearing, because the the frequency 50 frequency means that within 1 second it is 25 times lightning, and 25 times it switching on and switching off. That happens 50 times within 1 second, but you only experience the switching on part only, you cannot experience the switching off part. So then when you understand how it the mechanism of that current, then you can experience physically existing light, but actually it is not existing light. It seems like existing, but actually it is not existing. Similar thing happens about the Patavi nature. So Patavi is not a thing. The true nature of the Patavi is that it always appears, disappears in a very much high rate. We cannot even imagine that rate. So that's why do vipassana, do bhavana. Then we can understand that nature appearing and disappearing. So that's how when one can understand truly about the four great element, then directly it will help him to gain the fully enlightenment. It, it gives him about the understanding about the Anicca Dukkha Anatta, and it gives him understanding about the Sorry, I had some signal issue, and uh, so so far that's all we got as questions. So now let's uh, keep end to the Dhamma talk, and uh, I'm facing a signal failure, so now it's okay. The merit that we gain through is let's share with all the divine beings as well as the my teachers, especially with the permission to mention their name. Venerable Man Kadal Sudassana as well as Venerable Man Kadal Nadaratana as well as may my teachers receive these merits and may they be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana and the especially Bhante Sudasso and the April Cloud Monastery community, especially monastic as well as the. So may they receive these merits and may they be able to have a good life here and hereafter as well. And finally, may they be able. And finally, every sentient beings nowadays in the world is burning out of hatred. All the people who are suffering may have the blessings of the infinite triple gems and may they be able to have the good physical environment as well as the mental environment. And finally, all the devas may protect them, may protect all the sentient beings, and all of the beings may find be well, be and be happy, and be find may find the true liberation. So with that, I would like to conclude the Dhamma talk. I would like to share my blessings and by respecting you receive the blessings. Abhivadana silisse niccang vaddha pachayino chattaro dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang आयुआरोग्य संपत्ति सग्ग संपत्ति मेवच अथो निब्बाण संपत्ति मिनाते समिध्यतु. Teruvan Sarnai and Triple Gem bless you to all sentient beings. Teruvan Sarnai.